include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Now it's a very cool winter's morning and we are out and about having a look for any tracks of potential predators that would have been walking around at night. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
You are live.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is Sebastian. Now, you would have probably seen Tristan and Fergus out already on the vehicle, and the ladies in the final control. Now, it's great to have all of you with us. It is a cold winter's morning, and I have been looking around for some tracks at the moment. Nothing just yet. Some hyena tracks moving around during the night, but no predator movement like lion or leopard just yet. Now, don't forget, we are completely live, so send us your questions and your comments. Hashtag Safari Live via Twitter is how you do it, and we'll hopefully get to your questions. And we're going to try and find some animals this morning, see what we can find. We had an exciting day yesterday. There was a lot happening. Now, our friends up in the Masai Mara in East Africa have been going all night. They've had a huge amount of sightings. They've had an incredible evening. Lions and a lot of lions from what I've seen. So very exciting. And then yesterday we had leopards, we had lions, we had wild dog yesterday morning. It was all happening here in the Sabi Sands. It really was a great morning drive for us. Sunrise safari. A lot of activity for Ali and Tristan yesterday, and then we had the lions on a kill yesterday, which we got to watch, and a big male with them, one of the Birmingham males. Tristan is going to go into that area, I think, and see if they're still around, if there's anything left of that carcass. I don't think so, because those lions look pretty hungry, and they would have fed on most of it. However, the male was keeping them away from the carcass after they fed. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Tristan's going to head over there. Speaking of Tristan, he wants to say good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a beautiful sunrise safari with a very newborn baby zebra that's still wobbly on its feet. Isn't it cute? Now, as Byron mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Ferg. And remember, this is a live safari, so you can get hold of us on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter should you have any questions or have anything that you would like to tell us. Now, this little baby zebra is super cute. You might be forgiven to think that we're almost in the Masai Mara with this big open rolling grass and the zebras that are in it, and this little one is absolutely tiny. Now, we came across it just now. It was just starting to come out of the bush, and it's very wobbly on its feet still. You can see, look how unsteady it is. It's almost like as the wind blows, it kind of remembers that it's actually got to hold itself up, and every now and then it grooms itself to the point where it almost falls over. It is the cutest little thing in the world. Now, I'm quite glad our lions didn't come past this little baby zebra last night, because we know the night before the lions were on the prowl for zebra and they managed to grab one, but this little one is just too cute. Look how fluffy it still is. Hey, little guy. Is it a little boy or a girl? I don't know, but either way, it is very cool to see. Now, we're going to spend time with our tiny little baby zebra because, well, who doesn't like a baby animal? And so while we do that, let's go across to Jamie, who should be beaming from ear to ear after finding those tiny little baby lions.
I'm very glad that the lions didn't find Tristan's newborn zebra, but our lions here in the Masai Mara are definitely on the search for a meal. So yesterday on the sunset safari with James, the Angama pride caught and killed a baby wildebeest. We've spent the last 3 or so hours with them, in the early hours of the morning in the darkness, and guess what we saw? For those of you that missed it, the Angama Pride has 3 new cubs. Tiny, tiny little balls of fluff. Mum's taken them off, and now the lionesses are in search of their next meal. And unfortunately for them, the antelope that they were going for have decided to move in the opposite direction. A very good morning to all of you. My name is Jamie. This morning, Sensor is on camera with me, and it's been an absolute privilege to start to get to know the various lion prides of the Masai Mara, and in particular we've spent a lot of time with the wonderful Angama Pride. There's 3 females here at the moment and 10 cubs. The little ones have been taken to bed. First thing this morning, Mum led them off somewhere into this drainage system, or lugger, as it's known here. There we go. Perfect place to hide little cubs away. And then the lioness is on the hunt once again. There's a missing lioness. I don't know where she is. I'm sure that at some point she will pop out. I'm not sure where she's been all evening. And I can hear males roaring, or I could hear males roaring off in the distance as well. Oh, goodness gracious, that's not a very good view at all. Let us reposition and see whether any of the cubs have popped out again. So they were actually, the lionesses were going to try and hunt those Coke's hartebeest that are just in front of me there. If we have a look there, Sens, they're far away now. They've run off in the opposite direction. And of course, hartebeest, there we go. A little bit to the left. No, a little bit to the right. My mistake. The other left. There we go. Hartebeest, of course, one of the fastest antelope families, and one of them with the greatest stamina. The lionesses, I think, realized that there was no chance of being able to sneak up on those hartebeest at that distance. But, as you can see behind the hartebeest, food is definitely available. In the form of a zebra herd moving about at the base of the mountain. Right, we're going to go and catch up with our lionesses. While we do, let's go back to Tristan with his stripy horses.
Well, indeed, and our little one is being as cute as you can be. It tried to run around just now and fell over completely, and now it's just bonding with Mom. Look at how it's rubbing up, just getting sort of that affirmation of the fact that that is mother, making sure it gets to know its mom very well. You'll also see how this female keeps sectioning it off from the rest of the herd. It gets between it and the herd, and the reason for that is to try and imprint the stripe pattern on this little baby. So basically what it's trying to do is, as it walks with this baby, it keeps it sort of that the baby is on the outside. The baby then learns that that pattern that it sees is mom, and therefore the best place to go and get milk. So really cool. Now they've just gone behind a bush, and I'm hoping they might just come out again. So let's try go back a little bit. But this is so cool to see. It's always nice when we get new little animals around. And like I say, Jamie must be beaming from ear to ear with the birth of those 3 lions of the Angama Pride. I have a feeling that the Angama Pride is going to become like the Nkahuma Pride for the guys up in the Mara, given that it's right there on their doorstep. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get to know those lionesses very well, which is going to be cool for everybody involved. And hopefully we'll get lots of magical sightings with those 3 little new ones as well. Now, where are you, little baby? Well, don't be behind the bushes here. There's a little section that's maybe a... So, Donna, you're asking why is the mother and baby away from the rest of the herd? Well, Donna, it's pretty much as I just said now, is where the situation where this mother is trying to protect this baby, well, not protect the baby, but trying to get the baby to recognize her stripe pattern as mother. So what they often do is they separate slightly, they'll be on the fringes of the herd, and they try and imprint on their baby as much as possible. So you can imagine this little baby gets quite confused by all these stripes, difficult to know who mom is, and so that pattern will imprint on the baby, and she'll know, okay, that's contrasting pattern, and those stripes mean that's mom, and that's where I go for safety. And particularly when there is some sort of panic situation, if there's lions that come in and chase, she knows which female to carry on with and to run with to make sure that it's protected. But look at that, that is so cool. Hello, little one. Meter, who's 8 years old. Hello, Meter. I hope you're having a nice day. And you say that its tail is so fluffy. Well, I know, Meter, the whole of it looks fluffy. Don't you think it looks a lot more fluffy than the mommy zebra? It's got fluff coming down its back, and even its fur around its bum is a lot more fluffy than its mom. And it's just to stay nice and warm and insulated, especially because it's now going into winter and it's going to get very cold here, Meter. And so these guys need a little bit of extra fur as a baby to be able to survive. And look at its chin. Its chin is also very fluffy as well. Oh, careful you don't fall over. It's busy trying to groom itself so much that it almost fell over. But look at that. Isn't that cute? You can't tell me there's many things in life that is not cuter than a little baby zebra. What's in your teeth? Have you got your own fur stuck in your teeth? It looks like it's got its own fur stuck in its teeth from where it was grooming itself. You can see it's just hanging down there off the chin. It must be so interesting for these zebras to come into this world and see, well, in any animal really, and this big wide world with all these interesting sounds. And it's probably one of the first times it's seen a vehicle, and that's why it's also sticking close to mom and making sure, Mom, is this okay? Do I have to worry about this big object? But it seems as though it's taking it all in its stride. There we go, a little run. Careful you don't fall. You can see it's learning about running, and this is a typical response from a baby. When they move, they tend to run around like this. They get excited and they want to move as quick as possible. So Michael, you think one asking how old I think this little one is. You can see there's another baby in the background. Well, Michael, this is a fairly newborn. It's still wobbly on its feet, so I would say a matter of days old, if not, in fact, hours old. But it's not wet in any way, and it doesn't have matted fur from the afterbirth, so I would say days more than anything else. But there are a whole bunch of zebra now coming out of the bush, and I wonder if this isn't our McCurdy-hurdy returning back. It's about the right size for them, and they seem really relaxed with the vehicles, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Maybe they went away and gave birth to 2 little ones, and now they're back. I'm sure Taylor will be super excited if she comes back from leave and sees that the herd is back in this area and has a new addition to it. Now, Ferg, I'm going to try go forward because it gets nice and sort of open in front of me here. And I'm driving Wendy again for the first time in I don't know how long, and she drives very differently to Rusty, so I do apologize if you have a little bit of over revving. Her clutch lets out a lot later than what Rusty's does. Now, Ferg, you know what might be quite nice is if we go around and we get the little baby with the sunrise, because the sunrise is about to be the most epic sunrise. Just hold on, I'm going to try quickly. So we're going to just try and see if we can't do a little sunrise backlit zebra. Let's see if we can get in here, Ferg. Alright, all the way from Texas. Hello, alright. I hope you're having a wonderful evening, because it should be evening in that part of the world. And you want to know, what are the chances of this baby making it all the way to adulthood? Well, difficult to say. At the end of the day, it is a sort of nasty world out here. There is a lot that can eat a baby of that size. So when we're talking about hyenas, lions, leopard, wild dogs, there are lots of different predators that hunt baby zebras, and so it's going to be really, really quite tough for that little one. But they do have the protection of the herd, which means that maybe, just maybe, it will be alright. Now look at this. This is such a beautiful picture. Unfortunately, the zebra needs to come through the grass a little bit, but there's our sun just peeking up over the horizon, and it's a bright orange ball, and then our zebra is just in that long grass, and hopefully they're going to start coming out. But that is a magical way to start the day, that's for sure. Baby zebra, big orange sun, very cool indeed. And you can see how tall this yellow thatching grass gets. I know Taylor's spoken about it a few times, but I mean, if you look at the size of those zebra, and the zebra are not a small animal by any stretch of the imagination. You saw yesterday with that male lion when he was dragging that zebra, how big it is in relation to him. And you can see how tall this grass is, that it's over the top of the heads of these zebra, and the little baby is completely hidden. And so stripes in the long grass works very well as a camouflage pattern. Now, we're going to stay with our zebra a little bit longer and admire the sunrise, but I believe Byron has found something that may be a little wiser than he is.
Oh no. Tristan, it looks like it was wiser than I am. A little owl, and it was sitting there perfectly for us for quite some time, and it just flew off as soon as it came to us. It was a pearl-spotted owl. Oh no, that is so unlucky. Oh. I'm sorry. That's I really thought it was going to stay there. Little pearl-spotted owl. Got high up in a big tree, and then all of a sudden we heard it as we were driving. We heard it call, and I thought it would be wonderful to find it, and then we did. But now it flew off. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Now Tristan sounds like he's got a zebra sunrise that he'd like to show you, and he's still cross with me for spilling coffee. Sorry, Tristan.
No, don't worry, Byron. All is forgiven. The coffee stain is not a big problem on Wendy's dashboard. We've decided that, well, we can live with it and we'll be just fine. So there goes one of our little babies trotting off. Now I can hear some Impala's alarm calling, and it sounds like around Galago Pan. So I want to try and see if I can't quickly shoot that side. You never know. Maybe one of the lionesses has gone back towards where her cubs are, because we thought that's where that little cub was being kept. And, well, there's an Impala that's busy shouting there. So I want to try and go and see if I can't quickly investigate while they're still shouting. But I'm going to wait for the zebras to come past, because I don't want to scare our newborn baby, who's right at the back of the herd and should start coming out fairly shortly. No, you're going the other way, little one. Come on. So the rest of the herd is kind of just ambling past us, but there is one, the female with the little baby, that's still a bit nervous about coming past us. Right, well, we're going to go investigate. We're going to go try see what this Impala is shouting about. While we do that, I believe Jamie's lions are deciding to move.
There we go, our lionesses moving off once again into the long grasses. Earlier on, this lioness stood up and looked quite intently in the direction that she's moving in, which makes me wonder whether or not she can't actually see something that I can't. I'm thinking along the lines of a warthog. You never know. The rest of the pride, or at least the other two adult females, are just on the other side of this bush over here. So she might just be going off in search of them, going to go and find a nice spot to lie in the sun and warm up after a cool evening. I think, though, she's seen something and that she's just going to play the patience game in case it comes in her direction. Whoop. Awesome. Fantastic view of our lionesses. I suspect that all of the cubs are playing down in this drainage line at the bottom. Right, well, what else can we see? There's a herd of elephants off in the distance. I think we'll make our way towards them in a little bit. There they are over there. Now, the plan for this morning, you know how plans go out here, but the plan for this morning is to take you back towards that leopard that Brent had yesterday. So there we go. There are the elephants at the base of the Olololo mountain escarpment. And then at the top of that sits the fantastic Angama lodge. Angama sitting up at the top, right next to our camp. They, of course, have been really, truly instrumental in setting us up on this side of Africa. And just have a look there. There's the lodge, and just imagine what the view is like from up top there. I don't think I need to describe it. I think you can imagine it. The open plains. Imagine watching sunrise from your room at the top of this mountain. Oh, Michael, last night when we were sitting with the lionesses, they roared pretty much all the way through the evening. And you were wondering if the lions of the Mara roar more frequently than the lions in the sands. I don't think I'd say that, no. Look, I mean, it depends. It's circumstantial when lionesses roar. We haven't heard the Nkuhumas roar, or at least we hadn't when I left, roar all that frequently, because I think that they were feeling a little bit unsettled for whatever reason, whether it was to do with the area they were in or something happening with other prides, but they were quite quiet. But a year before that, the Nkuhumas were roaring all the time. And the lion prides that we've seen here do seem to roar pretty much every half an hour or so at certain times of the evening, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's more frequent. I have noticed, there is the possibility that because there's a higher concentration of lions, they might be more inclined to be very defensive of their territory, but it's hard to say, and I don't think we've been here for long enough to really make a comparison, because it's so circumstantial and so dependent upon where exactly you happen to be and what exactly happens to be happening with the lions around you. And there's two vehicles coming to see the lions. They're going to be sorely disappointed, because I'm going to have to just quickly chat to them and let them know they're gone. Now, Nina, you would like to know, how do lions stalk such fast antelope? The answer to that lies in the long grass. They've got plenty of cover in order to creep up on an antelope, so they can sneak their way through and use that amazing camouflage, and in fact become far more reliant on that golden color of theirs to hide them in the grasses. Habari? Swear that, but they've below the bush. A Kichwe that side, but they've below the bushes. So useful. You saw that yesterday, or James might have described it yesterday with the wildebeest hunt that he witnessed, and the fact that they can coordinate, and one lioness can chase a very fast antelope and she might not be able to catch it, but at the same time another lioness could come around and actually cut it off, and that's where the coordination of their hunts is so very important. I'm going to move because I can't see any lions. Ashes, you want to know why lions have a black tip on the end of their tail? Well, there we go. That sort of ties in nicely with what we were talking about in terms of their coordinated hunting. The fact that they have to coordinate in some way, and they can't do it vocally, because that would completely ruin the hunt. It would completely ruin the surprise. So what they do is they communicate visually with each other, with flicks of their tail and flicks of their ears. That's why they have the black on the back of their ears as well. And black is a color that stands out very, very noticeably out here, where in a world of basically browns and greens, black stands out very clearly. So by highlighting the backs of the ears and the tail, they can coordinate their hunts. And I think the more hunts that we see out here, the more we're going to actually see that work, actually be able to see how that works. Because we've got the open space, it's a lot easier for us to follow the animals as they hunt, so you'll be able to see exactly how they coordinate what they're doing. And I suspect that that's it for the lions for today. You never know though out here, it doesn't get too hot, so the lions are always active. Right, I'm going to go off in search of some elephants and a leopard. While we do that, let's go across to Byron. It seems as though it's Zebra Day on Djuma.
It does look like a zebra day this morning. Tristan had a herd, and we've got a different herd just on the southern side. Always nice to see some zebra. Excuse me, I seem to have a frog in my throat this morning. Oh. Olivia, now this is interesting. Hang on, you're going to see an Impala. There goes an Impala too, just running through the frame. Now, Olivia, you asked, can we ride a horse? Sorry. Sorry, Olivia. Can we ride a zebra like we ride a horse? That was your question. Olivia, apparently not. Apparently not. Apparently their back is not as sturdy or as strong as that of a horse. So you can't ride a zebra. Now, I don't know who tried this. To be honest, I would not like to ride a horse. And again, that's just a story I've heard. Don't quote me on that. I don't think it's very accurate. but I'm not entirely sure. I've never seen anybody ride a zebra. I've only seen zebra kick, and judging by the way they kick, I'm not sure, Olivia, but so they're moving off there. Patricia, you're 100% right. Asking about the zebra and their stripes and are they unique? They are indeed just like our fingerprints. Each zebra's stripes are completely unique to that zebra. There's no zebra that looks the same. It's completely different. And what I find so fascinating is the young zebra, when they were born, the foals when they were born, their mother's pattern is embedded in their memory immediately. They're able to recognize their mother in a herd. It's obviously a lot of scent in that too. They can pick up each other's smell, but they can recognize their mother in a herd of zebra. But each pattern is completely unique, which is amazing. I find that amazing. I think we're going to continue. Might try to do a little bit of birding today. We'll see how active the birds are. I was speaking about the birding. When I got back from drive yesterday, I was just going through some of the comments quickly in that, and we saw a woodpecker on drive, and it was just a quick little view of it. I didn't have a good view, but there were some screenshots, and just having a closer look, I initially thought it was a golden-tailed woodpecker, but having a closer look last night, it looked like it was a female Bennett's woodpecker. That's what I think it was. And it's so nice, and thank you again for the screenshots that come through, because it helps us if we see something and we might not necessarily get a quick view. Our little screens, and that sometimes we don't get it as clearly as you do, but if we see a quick flash of something that might be a bit far, you're able to see it on camera, and sending us the screenshots helped us a lot, so thank you. But so I think it was a female Bennett's woodpecker. It wasn't a golden-tailed woodpecker. Just having a look at it. Just want to make sure you get the right information. Don't want to tell you it's something that it's not. Are we going down a bit of a dip here? Sorry. So we might lose a little bit of signal, but it sounds like Tristan is in search of lions. Let's go and find out if he's had any luck this morning.
Well, we are indeed. We got a bit sidetracked with that Impala that was shouting, but I couldn't actually find the Impalas, and they went quiet quite quickly, so it might have just been a case of mistaken identity, and one of the Impalas just saw a duiker or something like that and had a few snorts and then realized it was actually nothing to really worry about. So just carrying on now, and we're going to go check the last position of where the Nkuhumas were, because I don't think anyone's actually been down that side yet. There is somebody that's checking to our sort of western side to check if they haven't crossed into Arathusa Simambili, and I'm just checking down towards the east and then going to go to where they last were and see if there's any signs of them there. Now, no tracks that I can see going in that direction at the moment, which is good news. It means that hopefully they're just lying in the same sort of area, enjoying some morning sunshine and digesting with those big full bellies. But the thing is that I'm pretty sure they would have wanted water at some point, and water in this area is a bit of a scarce commodity, so there's only a couple places they could go. They could either go to Shabamu Pans or Treehouse Dam, but if they don't go to either of those two, then their next option is to go to Arathusa, and either to Arathusa Dam or to Red Dam, which is not too far away. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they went for water, or if they're on their way for water, or if they just decided that they're going to digest and they'll go for water a little bit later. But hopefully it means that they're going to come east and come further into Djuma towards Treehouse Dam and spend the day at the dam. Wouldn't it be nice to have them all sort of lying at the dam, especially in the sunset, because there's such a beautiful sunset from the dam itself. It would be quite spectacular if they're lying there.
Of course, I also wouldn't say no if they were around now, because we've got this beautiful golden light, and the actual grass, as you can see, is picking up all those golden colors, and it is very pretty at this time of the morning in this area. So I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, we'll find them just kind of moving along through this nice gold colored grass, and hopefully they'll be moving towards some sort of water source. That's what I'm dreaming about, but whether or not that comes to fruition, well, is anyone's guess, actually. But so far, no signs of them coming out either side, which is a good thing. It means that maybe they're just somewhere close by and we'll be able to find them. Now, we're going to keep going southwards, keep checking around for these tracks, and while we do, let's go to the wise and muscular Gym Bunny Byron.
A gym bunny, Tristan. Oh my word. Now we've got a beautiful Burchell's Coucal. Haven't seen one of these for a while. Let's see, it might take off. Enjoying the morning light there. Now these are one of my favorite birds, the Burchell's Coucal. And it's spelt Coucal. Some of you might have thought it's I said cuckoo. It's not a cuckoo, it's a Coucal. And the Burchell's Coucal, beautiful bird, beautiful bird. Now this bird is often referred to as the rain bird by locals, because they say when you hear it calling, it's most likely going to rain that day. I won't play the call now. I'll wait till we move off, and then I'll play the call for you, just because I don't want to disturb the bird. If it does, actually, I'll play it softly. I don't think it will hear. Hang on a second. Let me get it for you. There we go. Do you hear that? Burchell's Coucal call. Beautiful, beautiful call. And that they refer to it as the rain bird. If I don't know. I've heard it at times, and I think, well, is it going to rain? But I sometimes think this bird takes chances, so it calls when it's actually raining. Kylie, number 50 on your bird list. Great, and a wonderful bird for number 50. Now this little bird, well, it's not that little actually. Burchell's Coucal's quite big. But what I find fascinating is they actually feed on a lot of different food. Now these Burchell's Coucals will feed on little mammals or little rodents. They'll probably catch little rodents and other birds, and they will feed on lizards. They almost a bird of prey in a sense, the way with the food they eat. So it is really fascinating. They'll raid nests sometimes to get chicks or eggs or bird eggs. So interesting bird. Nice for it to sit like that for so long. Jessica, you say it looks so warm and fluffy. Me or the bird, Jessica? I shaved, so I can't be looking fluffy at the moment. No, it does indeed. It does indeed. No. Trying to see if we can hear any potential alarm calls. I don't know what the morning is going to hold for us. It's nice to just drive around and see what we can find. And some hyena tracks on the road again. I've seen hyena tracks, a lot of hyena tracks around, but we haven't had any sign of them heading to a den anywhere. So I don't know if a new den or a den is active south of the property. I'm not sure. South of us. Oh, I can feel the temperature drop as we get close to this drainage line. All the cold air sinks down and sits here. What tracks have we got here? Hold on. No, hyena tracks again. see. And that's the other thing with hyenas. Sometimes they'll walk up a road, turn, come back, and then walk across and walk this way and walk that way. You end up doing this with hyena tracks. They can move a lot depending on if they pick up on the scent of anything. And they'll crisscross, move all over the show. Okay, I'm just going to go through a quick little dip. Might lose a bit of signal quickly, but I'll get out on the other side shortly. Okay, so luckily I think it was fine. Now let's head across to Tristan and find out how his lion search is going. Big boss man Tristan.
Well, our lion search at this stage is being less fruitful than we had hoped for. Now, Ferg is just asking me to go back a little bit. Ferg, what do we go? How far? Say when. When. Okay, there we go. When the director says when, you've got to stop and make sure that you position yourself in the right place. Now, we are in this area because we thought the lions might be lying still in the same place. And we've came up here and all the vultures are in the trees. And we've got one that's just on our left-hand side here that's being silhouetted by the sun. So I take it that's why you wanted me to stop there, Ferg, is because of that picture right there. And so it looks like a white-backed vulture, just given the size of the beak itself and the size of the head. And so I think that maybe, just maybe, the lions are here somewhere. It's just a matter of finding them. I can't find any tracks showing that they've left this area. There's no tracks going to the south, no tracks that I can see on the east, no tracks on the west. And so I think that they're somewhere here. It's now just a matter of time to try and find them in this long grass, because these lions could be lying flat and it will be very difficult to see. But isn't that beautiful? With our white-backed vulture just silhouetted against that beautiful dawn sky. You can see they have that featherless head that's just there so that when they feed, they don't get a lot of meat all over their heads, and make sure that everything is nice and clean. Now, Jack, you're wondering if there's a lot of territorial disputes between the lion prides. Well, most definitely. Lions are highly territorial animals. They do not want anything to do with other prides, and you'll find the males will be fiercely aggressive to any new males that come into this area, as well as females. Females won't tolerate other females in their territory, and a prime example of this was down in the western part of the Sabi Sands, where we had the Castleton pride, or Shimungwe pride, and the Ottawa pride. And the Ottawa females were actually more responsible for killing a number of those members than what the male lions were. Everybody blamed the male lions, but it was actually the females that did the damage, and they killed quite a few of those Shimungwe pride females, and that was what caused the issues down there. So they are fiercely territorial even as a female group, because the reason for that is that they need to protect their food resources and their water resources, and that's all finite things. They can't go and just find another sort of area, and that's why they'll protect it as much as possible. But you can see the sun slowly rising behind our vulture. Now, we've got Taxes also helping us in the area just to check, but he says he can't find any tracks going anywhere to the west, and so I don't know where these lions must have gone. They must be here somewhere. It's just like I say, all the vultures were in the trees, and I see some more of the vultures coming up, which was hooded vultures that just flew off to my right, and they typically are one of the first ones that will be here. You'll find a situation where the hooded vultures will spend the time coming down, and they're a lot more cheeky than what the white-backed vultures are. The white-backed vultures tend to be a little bit more nervous of what's going on, but the hooded vultures will come down and actually scavenge around around the actual lions, and until the lions chase them, they'll stay on the ground. Now, Robin, you want to know how many different vultures we have in South Africa. Now, in terms of South Africa, I'm not 100% sure how many vultures we are, but we'll count them quickly, and then we'll be able to tell you. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 vultures that you can see in South Africa. So we see the white-backed, most commonly here is the white-backed and the hooded vulture, and then we will see sometimes the Cape vulture, leopard-faced, and white-headed vultures. So those are the kind of ones that we see in the greater Kruger Park area, and then if we start heading into other parts of the park or in South Africa, we'll start to see other species of vultures as well. Now in Kenya, we're Brent is, they'll have similar species of vulture. They'll have the leopard-faced and white-headeds, but they also get a repulse vulture up there, which is one of my favorite vultures. It's a very beautiful bird. It's got these kind of scalloped wings, and I can actually show you what it looks like here in our book. But this is the repulse vulture, and I'm pretty sure we will see up in the Mara at some point. There will be Jamie, Brent will be able to show us some of these guys, which we don't see down here in the Kruger Park very often at all. In fact, there's only been 2 ever recorded sightings of this vulture here in South Africa. So, very cool one to see. But in East Africa, they're quite plentiful. Right. Where to from here, Ferg? Let's see where we can go and check around and just make sure that I didn't miss these tracks. I did see tracks kind of going off to my north, so I want to try and see if we can't just find where these tracks go. And while we do that, I believe Jamie is on the prowl for a unicorn.
Hopefully we'll be able to show you a Rupel's vulture or griffin at some point. We've definitely shown you some in the past, especially around that hippo carcass that was killed by the hyenas, not too far away from where we are now. I want to go and figure out why these elephants were running. What's going on, guys? Why are you running like that? Where are we off to? A little bit unexpected. They just came charging out of the grass, both with their tails stiff. Looks like a female and a youngster. Here's the rest of your herd. What's upset you? Those massive tusks. That cannot possibly be a female. That is surely not possible. There is a female with tusks almost that long. I guess it could be her. Head shape looks right, youngster looks the right age. It just never fails to astound me how long the tusks of the females can be here. It really is extraordinary. So different and so long. Of course, these elephants are quite far away, and the lions were quite far away earlier. But Gary, yes, the animals are as habituated as they are on Djuma. Now we've got a close-up view. That's definitely a male on the left, not a female. That would be almost impossible. Right, oh yes, they are absolutely as relaxed as the animals of Djuma. The leopards, there are some very unrelaxed leopards, but the relaxed leopards, the ones that are accustomed to vehicles, they are as comfortable as the leopards of the Sabi sand, with the presence of the safari vehicles around them. And especially in areas that sort of see quite a few safari vehicles coming through, they tend to be very comfortable animals. In fact, even more so, because during the high season when the migration is here, there's lots and lots of people moving through, tourists coming to see a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. Here comes the balloon on the way past. John, you say those are huge tusks. They are indeed. There goes the balloon, all wrapped up already. There's the basket over there. John, there are absolutely massive tusks, and there's 2 really big bulls around here, and I think that might be one of them. I just didn't realize because we were so far away. Let's have a look back at our elephant with the long tusks. Now there's 2 quite big tuskers that hang around, or have been hanging around the camp. I don't know if they will remain here. Are you the reason for the upset elephants? There's another one that's just popped out off to the left of us. Surely not. Elephants often chase each other around, so it is a possibility. Here it comes. I wonder if this individual was the reason behind the discomfort of those 2. Doesn't seem to be. He's moving quite calmly. Oregon Clay, you want to know if the elephant's tail is stiff, is that a sign of discomfort? It's one of the clearest signs of a discomforted elephant, with their tails hung sort of standing out from their bodies at around 90 degrees. It is definitely a very clear sign that your elephant is not happy with you. Clearer, in fact, than the whole elephant's ear flapping idea. Lots of people have always thought, and there was quite a myth a couple of decades ago, that if an elephant was flapping its ears at you, then it was angry. An angry elephant doesn't really flap its ears. It might once, but most of the time it holds them open and looks down its nose at you to try and make itself look bigger and scarier. The tail and the trunk are where the real signs of distress come from. When it's held out stiffly, you'll often even see with the trunk, the tip of the trunk, they twist and turn it in a way that shows indecision. So they might not necessarily give any other indication. They could be completely still. Scuffing their feet and twisting the tips of their trunk is often a sign that they are discomforted. This is not an old bull. I definitely don't think he's the one responsible for our running elephants. Maybe they just felt like an early morning jog. It's good weather for it. It's nice and cool. Awesome. I do want to move on. I've heard a report, a very exciting report. I'm not going to say where it comes from, but there is an animal out here that I haven't been able to show you. And I know that Brent has, and of course it's for us still a fantastic novelty. But apparently a black rhino was seen somewhere on the reserve, and I've heard about it, and I want to go now before it starts to get too late in the morning and it disappears. I'm hoping that we can get to it. We'll stop off at this buffalo herd though, because we see them every single day on the way down from the mountain. While we drive along a nice and easy route to a herd of buffalo, let's go find out what Bundu bashing Byron's doing.
I am indeed Bundu bashing. Oh, sorry, Sam, do you want to... Let me... Okay, let me just try move quickly here. Hold on. Oh no, I'll wait here. It's fine. It's... Yeah, it's okay, don't worry. Let me just chat for a second. So, why I'm driving through this thick bush at the moment is because somebody said they saw a carcass yesterday in this area, an Impala carcass, and they said they caught a glimpse of a leopard that darted off. Now, no one really got to view it, so I thought maybe we would have some luck. I'll come try and have a look where they couldn't even get a vehicle in here to see. They actually saw it on foot. They saw tracks, they followed, and the leopard ran away. So, not sure who it was, but it was somewhere in this area. But like I said, they couldn't get a vehicle in here. So I've been trying to make our way through into this area to see if we can't find any sign of a leopard around here. So far, we haven't had any luck, and it is very thick. I'm just going to scan a little bit here. Let's see if there's sign of a carcass on the ground or a leopard lying somewhere. I'll be very, very happy if we find a leopard lying here somewhere. No, I'm not sure. I don't see anything yet. As I said, it's very, very thick here at the moment. Beautiful, beautiful leadwood tree that Seb is just showing you there. Now that is probably one of my favorite trees, the leadwood. Really, really beautiful tree, especially with it looks beautiful like this, but leadwood trees, amazing enough, like when they eventually die, they can live for a long time. I think it's about 800 to 1,000 years old or so. But after they die, they can stay standing for about 50 to 80 years. They're very, very strong, hardy wood. And very, very strong tree, so they stay standing for a very long time. So beautiful leadwood. It is leadwood. Combretum imberbe. That's a leadwood, the scientific name. Now let's head over to Jamie in the Mara, who's got a beautiful bird to show you. I'm going to see if I can find this leopard.
A lapwing that I think for many of you may be a new addition to your bird lists. A wattled lapwing. And once this one turns its head, you'll be able to see where it gets its... Oh, there you go. Gets its name, the wattled lapwing, based around the wattles at the base of its beak. So quite a peculiar looking bird. It's got a very similar look to the wattled starlings, which incidentally we see lots of here, gathered on the backs of zebras, which I've never seen in South Africa before. And there we go, wattled lapwings. Wattled and spur-winged lapwings are the ones that are probably going to be new birds for many of you. But it's a very nice and easy to identify bird, especially for our new viewers who perhaps are starting off on this whole journey of learning how to identify the different things. A wattled lapwing in amongst the herd of buffalo. They've probably been catching insects that the buffalo have disturbed as they move through the grass. And it's so funny, I come past this buffalo herd every single day, and every single day I still get the same looks from them. What are you doing in our neighborhood? What are you planning on doing to us? There, that look. Here's a wattle starling. Is that a wattle starling on the back there? Sense? That's it, buffalo behind. That one, there we go. So we obviously see lots of oxpeckers on the backs of animals. Yes, it is. It is a wattled starling. How very convenient. Now, oxpeckers we see all the time, but I bet you haven't seen that many wattled starlings on the backs of things like buffalo and zebra. Just hold on one moment. I'm just going to need to move out of the way. I'm blocking the entire road, somewhat selfishly. Oh, never mind. He found a gap. Actually quite impressed. Is there another one coming? No. Whew. Have some early morning dust before my cup of coffee. Are you okay there, Senzo? Senzo appears to be coughing up a lung. Are you okay? Awesome. Hello, Flows. It's interesting that these buffalo are here every single night, and pretty much so are the lions as well. And yet the lions, the Angama pride, don't tend to go for them. Look at the size of that female's horns. Look at those horns. That's a female buffalo. Can you believe it? Oh. I wish I could describe the lady who just drove past, her facial expression. She was so surprised to see us. Alice, you want to know, or you say that you're so surprised that the animals don't use the roads as... Sorry, Kirst, what are you saying? Olive, sorry, Olive. Your name sounded very much like Alice when said over the radio. Olive, you want to know if the animals use the roads, or say that you're surprised that they don't use the roads as a way of avoiding the dangers of the long grass. They seem to actually be... Look, being in a herd like this is quite a comfort, because you've got so many eyes and ears. But I actually haven't seen many of the animals using the roads, you're right. The lions seem to love it, just as they do on Djuma. Nice, quiet way to walk. I guess being in a herd has its advantages, and they're not too concerned about something sneaking up on them. And actually, to be completely honest, I don't think the road would be much safer, especially in this area, because although you can see in front and to behind you, you would not be able to see, they wouldn't be able to see on either side, especially because there's big ditches that run all along the side of the road. So I don't think it would help them all that much. I don't think it would be all that much safer. Maybe to walk forward, but not by much. Hey girl. It's okay. You and I have had the stare down before. Mita says that the buffalo are not very friendly, like this particular bull that is staring at us with, well, a rather blank expression, if I could describe it like that. Mita, you are right. Buffalo are not very friendly animals, and in fact it's a very good idea, Mita, to stay away from buffalo on foot. But it's not their fault, it's just that they only really have two responses to danger. One is to run away and one is to fight back. And because they're such big, strong animals, it makes them very, very dangerous. Doesn't mean that they want to hurt you. It just means that you mustn't make them feel scared. So whilst they don't sort of welcome me with open arms, I don't think they mean me any harm. Ashes, you would like to know what the point is of having horns shaped that way. I actually think it's a very convenient horn shape. The possibility is not just battering a potential threat, but also hooking it and tossing it out of the way. And I don't know, Ashes, if you've ever seen any of those videos that are around of a buffalo hooking and throwing a lion. They can do it. They hook them and they lift them right up and they throw them into the air. Oh, is that the wildebeest herd that the lions were hunting yesterday? There in front, Sensor. There we go. I think that's the wildebeest herd one member short after their encounter with the Angamas, and they're actually heading in that direction now. Might be worth coming back here on my way, on my return, just to see if the lions are still hunting wildebeest. I think the horn shape is quite a convenient one. It also has the advantage of protecting when the two bulls fight each other. It has the advantage of protecting their eyes, because if one goes forward towards the eye, the hook of the horn can actually defend them. So I think it is actually quite a convenient shape. It's quite well positioned. The females, of course, have horns as well, not so much for fighting with each other, but for fighting off predators, for defending themselves from predators. Especially in an open area like this, they need to be able to fight back. And being on the menu, somebody's making a lot of noise in this herd. I'm just trying to work out who it is. Usually there's a little bit of lowing at each other in a buffalo herd. Oh, hello. What's happening? A little bit of panic, a little bit of pandemonium. Maybe it's because they know that the lions were here. Perhaps they can smell them somewhere. The wind's blowing in the right direction, and that probably is inclined to make them feel a little bit nervous. They're not close to the lions, not that close. Not close enough for them to be hunted yet. But there's definitely an unsettled feeling about this herd. Brandon, you would like to know, continuing our conversation on horns, why it is that buffalo horns are so big. My only real conclusion to that, Brandon, is it's a reproductive advantage, particularly for the bulls. The bigger the horns, the harder you can hit your opponent without giving yourself a headache. That's a female, and you can see the sort of the tufts of the hair there in between the horns. But behind her is a big male buffalo with a really solid set of horns. There's actually two there. That's another female. They have very thick, very, very solid bosses, and that allows them to really batter the opponents when it comes time to mate with a female. So I would suggest that that's probably the big reason why they have such large horns. I will say that the body size of the buffalo, as well as the horn size out here, is much larger than that in South Africa. The females as well. I can't get over the size of some of the females' horns. Quite extraordinary. Hello, girl. Not very friendly, Mita. Not at all. I've been fascinating watching the movements of this herd as well. Brent says it's the one with the pink noses. I still haven't seen one with a pink nose. I'm sure it's the same herd that moves backwards and forwards pretty much every single day. But I still haven't seen one with a pink nose. Ashes, yes, they do indeed stampede. It doesn't take much to send a buffalo herd spiraling into a panic, even if it's something like an antelope, a small antelope that runs next to them. And if one of them gets a fright, the rest of them get a fright as well, and they all start to gallop off together. And I guess it makes sense, in that they can't really see all that well, so something smallish and running could potentially be a lion, and definitely could be a threat to them. So off they all go racing in one direction. And I suppose it doesn't pay to be the cynical buffalo or the disbelieving buffalo that doesn't go with the rest of the flow, because it might just be the one time that they don't. They're being hunted by a lion. So everybody does panic and they all gallop off together. I've seen them do it many times. I've also seen them bottleneck. Obviously that's not something that we'd see often here. There's nowhere to really bottleneck into. But on Djuma and in the Sabi sand, I've seen them race off in a direction and then all get sort of stuck together and unable to pass the narrow opening that they've chosen. Lots of yellow-billed oxpeckers. I hope those of you who are experienced birders have been keeping an eye on that. I've seen lots of them already. So we've seen wattled starlings and oxpeckers on the backs of buffalo. Be interesting to see what happens if to see if the two species ever actually come into sort of any kind of conflict with each other. There you go, the wildebeest. Probably still feeling a bit unsettled after their afternoon yesterday. The wind's picked up as well, and that's bound to make them quite unsettled. We're going to continue on our way in search of the reported black rhino. Let's go find out where Tristan is driving to.
Well, good luck, Jamie. I hope you managed to find what you're looking for, because, well, our hopes have been dashed by the Nkuhumas as they crossed over into Arethusa. So their tracks went over into Arethusa and they apparently were found around Buff Skull area, which is central Arethusa, and so they went to Red Dam to drink, like we hypothesized in the beginning, because they had to go for water somewhere, and it was just a toss-up between coming to Vulture side, which we knew they didn't cross that way, or going towards Arethusa. Sorry, I was just checking here, but you can see, if you have a look at the fire break, it's been dragged recently. So basically what they do is they drag tires on it to keep the road smooth and to fill in any gaps that there could be and where the cars sort of bite in a little bit and make it uneven. And that's always a good place to check for tracks. When it's been smoothed out like that, it makes it much easier to see if there's any footprints. So I was just having a little look there quickly to see if maybe Hosanna or Shongile or one of them was around in this area, but alas, no sign at this stage of anything other than strewn elephant dung all throughout the road, which is not what we're looking for really. As much as we like elephant dung, it's really not part of the equation this morning, that's for sure. Wouldn't you agree, Ferg? You do agree. Everything I say you agree with. Are you sure about this? This might lead you into trouble. Yes, let's rephrase that quickly. Now I believe Biceps has flexed his muscles and has managed to find something of interest for all of you.
Oh, there we go. There's another leopard. There are two leopards, everyone. I think this must be Thandi and Thamba, and I think that's Thamba that's just moved through there. Let me try reposition. We've just found them. Been driving through this thicket, searching high and low. I don't know if these are the leopards that they saw the other day, or yesterday. Hold on. Where did she go? Where did she go? Oh, no. No, they've gone down this. Can you see? Alright, Seb, shall I go back? Oh, there they're moving. Okay, hold on, stick with us. Oh, this is going to be difficult maneuvering, but we found our leopards. Our persistence has paid off. We actually heard an owl a little white-faced scops owl, and we were there they are, there they go, there we go, there we go, there we go, both of them. That is wonderful. Now just have a look. I mean, I'm not sure, but a female leopard with a young, looks like a young male. I think this is very possibly the Thandi and Thamba, those two leopards. Now I wonder where they're going. I hope they're not going back from where we just came, because it's very, very thick and it was difficult to get through there. Well, I'm very, very happy and excited. I thought we were heading on a wild goose chase. I'm not sure if she has got a kill. Let's see if I can just reposition slightly for you. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful leopard. And two of them nonetheless. And Dresser, you say how fantastic. It really is fantastic. I'm so happy. This is wonderful. I've been searching very hard for leopards the last few days and haven't had any luck, and took a chance this morning. We didn't find any carcass, so like I say, I'm not sure if she has got a carcass or not, but I'm hoping. It doesn't look like it the way they're moving. They just look like they're moving through the thicket. Both of them. Oh no. Okay, now this is where it gets tricky, everyone. Now to try and stay with them and follow them is very, very difficult. Asif, no, they are not mates. This is a female and an offspring. Okay, you know what? I just drove around. I'm gonna have to go back this way quickly, because there's no way through there. So Asif, no, this is a female and an offspring. And that's what it looks like. Like I said, I haven't had a great view of them just yet. They've just been moving through the thicket. But it does look like a female leopard with a young male cub. Hold on. No, you see, even the gloves are off, so I can make sure. Sorry, Seb, watch out. Oh, this is very exciting. And I'm so glad we got to find them. I'm not even going to bother trying to radio anyone just yet, because I don't really know how they would get in here. We really just took a chance. Hold on. Let's see where they've gone. Where have they gone? Saw them come through this way. There they are. Chitty Chatty Meg, you asked why they're together. You thought they're solitary. Leopards are solitary, Chitty Chatty Meg. However, I was wondering what that noise was. So Chitty Chatty Meg, when it's offspring, a female with her youngsters, you'll see them in this. You'll see them moving around together. And the only other time you'll have leopards moving together is when they are looking to mate. So a male finding a female and looking to mate. This is not a big dominant male and female at all. This is a female with the offspring. And like I said, I think this is the leopard that is known as Thandi, and her offspring Thamba, the young male. I think that's them that we've managed to find here. A lot of logs around here. It's making it difficult to maneuver through, and they've moved down to the drainage line. I'm going to see if I can't just find a little spot to go down into this. I think it's the Moati. It is indeed. It's not too far, but hold on a second. See if we can't get a view from this side. Just keep checking down there, Seb, because I think they moved through. I'm trying to have a look. This is very, very difficult, everyone. Just trying to, maybe we hear them or just see a glimpse of movement. Okay, now let me see if I can find these leopards again. They've moved through quite quickly. Let's head over to Jamie in the Mara with Giraffe.
The safari is all about the journey, and of course while we were on our way to go and find the black rhino, we have instead found not 3 but several giraffe wandering through the open area. And I have to say that the giraffe out here really do provide us with the most incredible images. They're so photogenic. Just look at the 3 of them gathered together at the base of that mountain there. Isn't that beautiful? A whole collection of males, females, and youngsters gathered together, enjoying their morning breakfast. Have you seen a black rhino by any chance? Here we go, she's just moving the other one, the younger one, out of the way. She just sort of pushed up against it. So you get a lot of that with giraffe, and a lot of dominance displaying between the various members of a group like this. Now, it's called mock mounting, and it's very common between 2 animals of the same sex. So females will often mount females to show dominance. Males will do the same. Males do it more often than the females, and it's basically their way of establishing their own hierarchy. And they're not particularly territorial. In fact, they're not territorial at all. So any kind of hierarchy or dominance is established pretty quickly. The only time that they will really seriously come into conflict with each other is, of course, when a female comes into estrus or into heat, and the males compete for access to her. Now let's see if we can count. We might try and get a little bit closer as well. I can see, just from where I'm sitting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 giraffe all together in one group, spread out a little bit. Let's go and catch up with the closest group up ahead. And absolutely, they are indeed taller than the trees. And I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear who that comment came from. Ashes, you say they are much taller than the trees. I spoke about this the other day. Seems like a ridiculous thing to say. Bless you, Senzo. But I'd forgotten just how tall giraffe were up until recently, when we were very, very close to one. Here we go. Let's see how close they'll let us get. I know it sounds very silly, because we see them every day, but I really had forgotten just how tall they can be. Up to, in sort of record-breaking situations, up to around about 6 meters from the ground to the top of their heads. Such a sedate walk. Watch the way that they walk. Watch the way that both legs on the same side move at the same time. Very, very unusual for most of our 4-legged creatures out here to move in that way. Now, Jack, you want to know, having seen a couple of little ones, how long a baby giraffe will stay with its parents? Around about 1.5 years. Bear in mind, of course, that the male doesn't play much of a role in raising the offspring. So it's entirely the female's job. And the babies can stay, if it's a female calf, it can stay for even longer than that. It could actually stay with its mother for years at a time. If it is a male, he'll probably move off at around about 1.5 years. And then he'll go off and find some bachelors to spend his time with, or even actually hang out with another herd. They don't have any kind of strict herd structure. They don't have a harem or anything like that. They've got a very, very flexible social structure. Sometimes they'll move off on their own, sometimes they'll follow on with the rest of the group. Look at that. All those heads, and the vast open spaces of the Masai Mara. One of them's bending down. Could be to drink. Could also be to... No, there we go. Feeding off not grass. It's unusual, not impossible, but unusual to see a giraffe grazing. They are pretty much strictly browsers. Oh, that does look like a piece of grass, though. That might have been an accidental piece that giraffe grabbed. Since it's just... Oh, never mind, it fell out. I would guess, though, that it's most likely after some of the smaller bushes that are growing up there. There you go. Small crotons and small acacias. That's what they're really after. Of course, it's worth bending down, even if you're as tall as a giraffe, if you can get something succulent and young. On Deer Watcher, you say that they walk like royalty. They are unbelievably graceful animals, and even when they run, they look as though they're running in slow motion, and it's a very deceptive run because you don't realize just how fast they're actually moving. They cover such large amounts of ground in one stride, so they canter forward, and of course when your legs are 2 meters long, it's very easy to run fast, but they walk with such grace and poise. And even their walk looks slow and steady. It's not, though, because their legs are so long. They do cover ground very quickly, and already they've deceived me as to how far they've gone. Arrogant Clay, you want to know if the giraffe's spots can be used like a zebra's stripes as a means of identifying them. Yes, absolutely it can. And I know that a lot of our viewers can actually, and I found myself doing it as well before I left Djuma. I found myself identifying individual giraffe in just that way. That and a combination of unique scars and patches on their skin. I'm just going to get us back to the giraffe. I just want to make sure I'm not going to crash into another car. But we could identify individual giraffe just in the way that we identify individual leopards. It is entirely possible to do that from their spot patterns. Each and every single one will be unique. Sometimes they have little hearts in their patterns. So it is very much like a fingerprint, just like a zebra's stripes or a leopard's spots. And in the case of these triple skirchy giraffe, it does indeed. Kirsty's absolutely right. It looks exactly like puzzle pieces, the spots on their skin. There we go, another one bending down to browse off the bushes closer to the ground. Does look like puzzle pieces. I'm just going to have to shift a bit. Sorry, Senzo. There we go. We can have a closer look at her skin. Now, Rhiannon, you want to know what species of giraffe we get out here. We get the Maasai giraffe with their very, very unique spot patterns. One of the things I would love to see as well is the Rothschild giraffe, up a little bit further to the north of us. But out here we see the Maasai giraffe. The only major difference, apart from the spot patterns, which obviously look quite distinct, and a lot more, I think the edges of the spot patterns are a lot more jagged. The major difference that I've noticed is the way that the bones on the top of the head protrude far more clearly, especially in the male giraffe. You don't really see it in the female, they don't need it, so you won't be able to see it as clearly on this individual. We also see them far more often, I guess because it's more open. Oh, yum! Whatever that giraffe is eating, it is well and truly enjoying. Savouring each bite. It's a very cool screenshot. Are you enjoying that breakfast? Now, Mita, our 8-year-old viewer who watches regularly, which I think is absolutely fantastic, you say that their bellies are so round. Oh, very, very well spotted, Mita, because I'm pretty sure that this female giraffe is pregnant. That's why her belly is even rounder than normal. So all giraffe have nice round bellies, healthy giraffe, but she's particularly big because she's growing a baby inside of her. I'm almost certain that she's pregnant. She's not at the late stages yet, but she's definitely going to have a calf in the next few months. Imagine watching a live giraffe birth, everyone. I'm sorry, Kirst, my radio has fallen down. I'm not hearing you clearly. I think what I'm hearing is Jeffrey in Texas wanting to know how often the lions out here will hunt giraffe. I imagine it happens more frequently than somewhere in the Sabi sand. Of course, lions do hunt giraffe in South Africa, and I've seen quite a few giraffe-lion kills. I would hazard a guess and say that it does happen regularly here, especially because there's quite a few large prides. And the larger the pride, the more mouths there are to feed, and the larger the prey species that they tend to go after. If I were a lion, I would actually often chase giraffe around here, because there's so many rocks that it might be a very clever technique to actually chase them up against the rocks of the mountains where they can't keep their footing. That's something that the lions in the Kruger National Park have learned to do, by chasing the giraffe onto the tarred roads where they start to slip and then they fall down. It makes hunting them much, much easier. We could even end up seeing a giraffe-lion hunt at some point in the future. It could easily happen. There are some enormous prides out here. The Paradise Pride, for example. I don't think it's going to be likely in the next few months, though, because, of course, the wildebeest are on their way. And who needs to go and hunt something like a giraffe, which is quite dangerous, when you could basically just wait for the wildebeest to jump into your jaws, which is what the lions are going to be doing over the next few weeks. The wildebeest are on their way. They're still mostly around the Sand River, towards Tanzania, but they're getting here. The zebra have already arrived. So there's lots to look forward to. Now, where's this black rhino? I think we're a little bit late. And if I were to guess, just judging on black rhino behavior, he's either gone, or it's either gone, into the thicket at the base of the mountain, or into the thickets near the river, close to the Mara River. While I go off in search of our rhino, it sounds like Tristan is on the search for leopards as well.
Well, anything really, Jamie. It's at the moment deathly quiet. We've come across no mammalian life forms or even any life form really. It's been quite a quiet sort of drive since we left those lion tracks should I say, not tracking. We checked Treehouse Dam, nothing there, and then there was reports of a young female leopard track that was going north, but we couldn't find where exactly the guys had them because they drove everywhere there. So now we're just driving around, and maybe we'll just go past Byron to go and see if he's okay, make sure that he's surviving, because it seems like Byron and his guns managed to break Rusty, so too much gym for Byron has now caused Rusty to break in half, and well, now we have to go and try and see if we can't help him. Well, not us actually, Connor's going to go and help him, but we'll just take a turn past there because it's not far away, and make sure that he doesn't need anything. Mammals. There we go, Ferg, there's something to point your camera at other than me. Now, it's not the most exciting animals, it's, well, that's actually unfair. That's unfair, exactly. But it is one of our more common animals. Should we say that rather, Ferg? That's better, hey? Now, nice group of impalas that are just slowly going into the thickets. You'll find that these guys would have spent somewhere in the open, and it's now, as the sun is rising, the predators are going to start slowing down, and therefore it's time to get into the thickets and start to find food as well as shelter for the day ahead, because it should be quite a warm day. It's already been a warmish start to the morning. It's not been that cold, and So today should be nice and warm, except that there is that wind that is starting, and we get the sneaky wind at this time of the year that has this cold sort of connotations, and it really is not very pleasant at all. But don't you love how impala, or most antelope, chew leaves? Look at that. I don't know what it's actually eating off of that monkey orange. There's really not very much in the way. Actually, I lie, it's not a monkey orange, it's a leedwood. Sorry about that. It's just a very small one. But I don't know what they're actually eating off of it. Are you getting to the leaves? No, it is a monkey orange. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong impala feeding here. I was looking at impalas feeding to the left of that one. So Andresia, you say it's so lovely in the golden light. Well, exactly. The impalas really do become more pretty when the light is gold. It sort of makes their colors come out and pop, and you almost get this sort of feeling that they're a lot brighter than what they are when you see them during the middle of the day. So in golden colors like this, and in the winter morning light and afternoon light, they really do look exquisite. So nice to see them, and nice to appreciate them when you find them like this in the golden light, and nice to just spend time with them as well. Impalas are so often overlooked because of how common they are, and they really are such a beautiful antelope. So Claire, you say without antelope there will be no leopards. Yes, and that would be a dilemma in all of our lives. We need our spotted friends, so the antelope are vitally important. But look at that. Do you see how the impala is busy grooming itself? Now, impalas are quite interesting. They have a very interesting dental structure that allows for more effective grooming. So when they turn their head like that and they run their teeth through, they have these grooved teeth with this elasticated jaw, and as the sort of teeth run through the coat, so they just move out slightly, and it creates almost these gaps, and that will allow the teeth to comb through and get rid of all of the loose fur, any parasites that they have. And that's why impalas always look so immaculate, is that they groom themselves heavily, and they'll even groom one another, which is not that common in antelope species. You don't find it very often where there'll be allo grooming, so one grooming another one, but the impalas do it, and that's why they always look as though they've just come out of a parlor and they've been brushed and cleaned, and they shine, especially as it gets into the middle part of the day. When it gets a little bit warmer, then their coats flatten out. At the moment, their coats are still puffy from the night. Now, there's another species of antelope in the background there. You see, there's two species of antelope in the background. There we go, Ferg. We've got a zebra and two waterbuck that are also sneaking through the picture and have made friends with the impalas. Now, it's quite strange that there's just the one zebra. Oh, there's some more zebra now. I can see them as well. I thought there might just be one zebra, but that's cool. Look, three species in one frame. So impala, zebra, waterbuck. And you can see how tolerant they are of each other. They're all moving around within the same place. And that's just because they're all herbivores, so no need to stress about one another. And ultimately, it's always nice to have different species because they all have different levels of senses. So some see better than others, some hear better, some smell better. And also, they're at different levels within the bush. So the impalas being low down can often see underneath trees and things like that, whereas the zebras have the height advantage over the grass and can see into the grass. And so between all of them, it means that they have the area covered a lot better, so it actually makes sense to hang around with other species, and that's why it's so common. Also, because of the time of the day, most of these guys would have been out in an open section, and that's what brings them together, and then they come out and start moving into these thickets and will start breaking apart as they do during the day. But nice to see nonetheless. It's always great when you get multiple species in the same area. It just kind of feels like a lot is going on. It's always happy when I see it like that. Right, now, talking about different species, it seems Jamie has found another one to add to this morning's list. So let's go all the way across to her and see what large animals she's managed to find.
This is the lovely thing about being out here, is that pretty much everywhere I go, I see elephants. And I'm really enjoying that. I've enjoyed spending as much time as possible with them. They seem to love the swampy area. So do the lions. This is not far from where the lions were earlier. And they're gathered together around the spot because this is where lots and lots of water flows down from the mountains. and saturates the soil. So the food here, I think, for the elephants is quite scrumptious. We've just been talking about tusks and the size of elephant tusks. Have a look at this one over here on the left-hand side of the road. Look at that. Really, really very long tusks, almost to the end of his trunk. Oh, we've seen lots of these elephants recently. It really is quite special. There you can actually see beautifully on this elephant which tusk is the dominant one and which is the slightly less used tusk. So much like human beings, elephants are at least partially left and right or right tusked, in that they often prefer to use one over the other. Now, it might even be a factor of the way that these tusks have grown, because the one on the right would, I imagine, be just that much easier to use. It hangs slightly lower than the tusk on the left, and you can see how the point on the right is worn away from where it has been digging underneath bushes and moving up grass and so on. Habari! This side of the lugger, but they disappeared. They went flat in the bush there. Yeah, not down, but just on this side. Maybe if you check along, maybe you get lucky. They popped out. Cheers, guys. Sorry, just telling one of the other guides where the lions were. So yes, left and right tusks, sometimes very clear, also known as the slave and the master tusks. Which one is used more often? Where's that floppy-eared elephant gone? I'm sure I saw one with a very floppy ear. That's another thing that makes an elephant quite easily identifiable. They sometimes break the cartilage or damage the cartilage at the top of their ears, and as a result they have a permanent floppy ear. I think it's that one, Sens. Maybe not. Where did you go? And another lovely question coming through from Ashes. My goodness, you're on form this morning. You want to know, how do elephants sleep? Ashes, the answer is actually very little, according to a very conclusive study that was carried out into elephant sleeping patterns. Once an adult elephant has reached sexual maturity, once they're fully mature and they're adults, they will sleep according to their brain waves, a study done on their brain waves and the movement of their trunks, around about actually entering deep sleep only every couple of days. However, when they do sleep or when they do doze, they usually do it standing up, but they can lie down as well. So it's a fallacy that an adult elephant can't lie down and then get back up again. That's not true. An adult elephant absolutely can lie down and stand back up again. They just don't lie down for long periods of time. Often they'll find themselves a termite mound or a tree and go and lean up against that and use that basically to support their weight while they doze. Baby elephants, on the other hand, they sleep far more often. So especially the young elephants under around about 2 years old, they will have regular nap times. And that's another one of my favorite things to watch, because the whole herd patiently surrounds a sleeping group of youngsters, leaves them to doze, and basically forms a protective circle around them and watches them while they sleep. The other fun thing to see, and it's something that we've seen on our live safaris often, is when it's time for the adults to wake the babies up, because the little ones actually often have tantrums. And the adults will sort of walk up to them and touch them gently with their trunk, and if there's still no response, then they'll actually kick them gently, try and force them to their feet, and the baby elephants don't really appreciate that. Quite entertaining. Just like a toddler being woken from a nap. Buddy. Some Ranjit? Sorry, hold on 1 second. It's Zulu. They went onto the side of the lugger, this side, but they went flat down in the bushes. I don't know where exactly. Senzo? Everybody sees Senzo and thinks he speaks Swahili. And he spends his life going, I'm sorry, I don't understand. It won't take long for us to catch on with the language, but it seems to happen to Sensor at least 4 times a day. Sorry, Kirsty, what was the question? Alright, that was the question we were answering. I got completely distracted. He wanted to know how many hours an elephant will spend eating. Many is the answer. In fact, they eat pretty much constantly throughout a 24-hour period. They might have the odd nap. They might spend slightly less time, or they do spend slightly less time feeding at night, but they still continue to feed throughout the evening. So essentially, you're probably looking at around about at least 20 hours a day that an elephant will spend eating. And they need to do that because their digestive system needs bulk feeding. It doesn't necessarily break down the nutrients in the same way that ruminants do because they don't have the 4 stomachs, or at least the 4-chambered stomach. So as a result, the food passes through them partially undigested. So to support a massive size like the size of an elephant, they need to eat constantly. As a result, of course, it wears down their teeth. You can imagine